Welcome to Taekook Whispers, a place where every moment between Kim Taehyung and Jeon Jungkook often speaks louder than words. During an interview with GQ magazine, a moment occurred that at first glance seemed very simple. Jungkook suddenly turned to look at Taehyung, just for a few seconds, without a word, without any explanation. Yet that glance felt incredibly deep, as if, instinctively, he was searching for something from Taehyung. Approval, understanding, or perhaps something far more personal. For some people, it might have looked like nothing more than a small movement. But for many fans, that moment felt like a tiny glimpse of a connection that has grown over the years, quiet, warm, and filled with meaning that doesn't always need to be explained. When we look back at many of their moments, from brief glances during interviews, late-night live streams, to spontaneous gestures captured on camera, one question begins to appear in many people's minds. Is all of this just coincidence? Or is there actually a much deeper story between Taehyung and Jungkook? During the interview, the conversation flowed casually. But in the middle of the discussion, Jungkook suddenly turned his head toward Taehyung. The look lasted only a few seconds. No words were spoken. Yet the way Jungkook looked at Taehyung seemed to carry a deeper meaning, like someone instinctively seeking reassurance from the person he trusts the most. It was almost as if, before continuing his answer, he wanted to make sure of something first, whether Taehyung agreed, whether Taehyung understood, or perhaps whether Taehyung felt the same way. Small gestures like this may seem insignificant to people who don't pay close attention. But for many fans, the moment felt incredibly sincere. It didn't look like something staged for the camera, but rather a natural reaction, an emotional reflex that appeared spontaneously. What made the moment even more interesting was Taehyung's own reaction. Instead of immediately responding to Jungkook's gaze, he seemed to try acting as if he hadn't noticed it. His expression almost resembled someone pretending to remain calm, with body language that seemed to say, "If I don't move, maybe no one will notice." And that is exactly where the warmth of the moment lies. Because often, the most honest communication doesn't happen through words. It appears through brief glances, almost unconscious body movements, or small smiles that only two people truly understand. And the relationship between Taehyung and Jungkook seems to be filled with that kind of silent language, a language that doesn't need explanation because they already understand it perfectly. Their connection itself has developed over many years, since they were still very young members of BTS. From their trainee days to becoming global stars, they have experienced so much together: huge stages, world tours, the pressure of fame, and quiet moments behind the scenes. All of those experiences slowly built something deeper than just a professional relationship. One of the most adorable examples of their closeness happened during a live broadcast shortly before they began their mandatory military service. At that time, Taehyung casually showed a video he had secretly recorded. In the video, Jungkook was asleep beside him, sleeping so deeply that a soft snoring sound could be heard. Instead of hiding the moment, Taehyung simply laughed softly as he showed it to fans. For many people, the moment felt incredibly intimate in a simple way. Not because something dramatic happened, but because it revealed how comfortable they were with each other. They weren't just sharing the same space. They were sleeping next to each other peacefully, without the slightest hint of awkwardness. A relationship like that usually exists only between people who truly feel safe together. Taehyung even recorded the snoring moment with a playful expression, as if he wanted to tease Jungkook. The way he shared the video while laughing revealed something very important: trust. Jungkook didn't seem to mind that his relaxed side was seen, because the person recording him was Taehyung. And trust like that doesn't appear overnight. It is built over a long period of time. Another moment that fans often talk about happened when Taehyung did a late-night live broadcast from his bed in Los Angeles. He admitted at the time that he couldn't sleep. Instead of staying alone, he turned on the camera and started chatting with fans. But there was one detail that made the broadcast feel different. Beside him, Jungkook was fast asleep. During the live stream, Jungkook's soft snoring could even be heard quite clearly. Yet Taehyung seemed completely relaxed, talking to fans as if it were perfectly normal. There was no awkwardness, no attempt to hide it. On the contrary, the situation felt like a small glimpse into their everyday life. As time went by, many fans began to notice that Taehyung and Jungkook's closeness seemed to become more open. They no longer appeared overly cautious about showing small interactions, like long glances, smiles that only the two of them seemed to understand, or quick reactions whenever one of their names was mentioned. This change might reflect something very simple: maturity. After years of living under the public spotlight, they seem more comfortable with themselves and with the bond they share. What makes their relationship truly fascinating isn't the big moments on stage, but the small details that appear in everyday life. The way they unconsciously look for each other in a crowd. The way their bodies naturally move closer together. Or how they understand each other's habits without needing them to be explained. Sometimes, the strongest bonds are revealed not through dramatic gestures but through quiet consistency, the kind that appears again and again in subtle ways. A glance during an interview, a laugh shared over something only they understand, or the simple comfort of falling asleep beside each other after a long day. These little details may seem ordinary, but when they repeat themselves over the years, they begin to form a pattern, a quiet story that unfolds slowly in front of the cameras, even when no one is trying to tell it. These gestures feel far too natural to be called a performance. Instead, everything seems like something that has grown slowly, from year to year, from experience to experience. In the end, the story of Taehyung and Jungkook may not always be told through grand statements or dramatic words. On the contrary, their connection often appears through small details that are almost unnoticed. Brief glances, spontaneous laughter, and a comfort that feels incredibly natural. And perhaps that is where the beauty lies. Because some of the strongest connections in the world don't need to be announced to everyone, they simply need to be felt by those who truly pay attention. So what do you think? Are these moments just coincidences? Or are they actually proof that the bond between Taehyung and Jungkook runs much deeper than what we see? Write your thoughts in the comments section. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss more interesting stories here on Taekook Whispers.